Good evening, College Park families. Thank you for joining us again for another night of reading. I want to remind you that the books that we are reading during this time can be purchased at the Virtual Book Fair that we are having this year. And remember that Virtual Book Fair begins on October 26th. Today I'm reading a little something for the older kids. It is a chapter book. So let's see how many pages we have here. 115 pages or so. And I'm going to read you the first chapter. This would be for somebody that would like a ghost story but doesn't want to really get too scared. So let me read the back of it for you first. This is called Monster Itch, Ghost Attack. This was one monster of an itch. When Alex and his cousin Sarah are visiting with their grandparents, Alex gets terrible, red itchy hives. Yikes! He's allergic to a ghost. Even worse, the ghost won't leave him alone. He wants Alex and Sarah's help. Can they solve the ghost's mystery and get rid of Alex's awful rash before it ruins everything? You'll have to read the book to find out, but I'm going to start it off for you. So here we go. Monster Itch, Chapter 1. "You're killing me," I screamed. My shouts made the grip grow tighter. I struggled to breathe, but my ribs had no room to expand. "Let go." "But I'll miss you so much, Alex," Mom said. I glanced past her at Dad, who offered me nothing more helpful than a shrug. If shrugs could talk, this one would have said, "You're on your own." And right past Dad, my cousin Sarah, who had just gotten out of the car, also shrugged. But the message from her shoulders, as they brushed against the ends of her brown hair, was more like, "I'm glad your parents brought us here and not mine." I could understand how she felt. Both our moms loved hugs and hated goodbyes. "It's just for 1 week," I said, using the last air in my lungs. That didn't help. As Mom clamped down, I could feel my belly button pressing against my backbone. "For goodness sakes," Grandma said, coming down the front porch steps of her house. "Stop trying to squeeze him in half. He's already enough of a handful to keep an eye on. There's no way I'll wash 2 of him, even if each one is just half the size." Mom loosened her grip enough so I could escape. "Hi, Grandma," I said. I spun a safe distance from Mom's arms. "We're here." Grandma shot me a sharp look. If looks could talk, this one would have said, "Don't waste my time stating the obvious. Of course you're here." But then the glare softened, and she said, "Glad you kids came for a visit. I can't wait for you two to see the new place. Take your bags upstairs. There's a guest room at each end of the hall." I inhaled a deep breath of the fresh country air and then walked over to the car. "What a great house," Sarah said. "I'll bet it's haunted." She flashed me a grin. Just because I didn't like creepy movies. She was always trying to scare me. "That's why we bought it," Grandma said. "They promised there'd be a ghost. But I suspect they were just trying to fool us city folks." She's a writer, and Gramps is an artist. They make this comic book called Little Grandella about a girl who's a monster. It's really twisted, but not too scary for me. Gramps joined Grandma on the porch and said, "The place is wonderfully creaky." He laughed and added, "Just like me." He was joking. Grandma and Gramps are both in great shape. They go skiing and hiking all the time. They even own a pair of kayaks. Sarah and I unhooked our bikes from the rack and on the back bumper of the car and unhooked our bikes from the rack on the back bumper of the car and wheeled them over to the side of the garage. As we were walking back to the car, Dad popped the trunk. I reached in and grabbed my duffel bag. That's when Grandma said, "One of the rooms is a teeny tiny bit nicer than the other." She might as well have said, "On your mark, get set, go." Sarah and I ran flat out for the front door. Just because she's 5 whole days older than me, she always thinks she should get the first choice, the biggest piece, and the best seat. Not this time. I might not be a faster runner than Sarah, but I was a lighter packer. My bag didn't slow me down at all, while hers was so heavy she almost had to drag it. I reached the steps with a good lead. "Wait," Mom shouted, "you forgot something." I looked back. That was a mistake, because I also kept running forward. Oof! I tripped on the bottom porch step. Luckily, the stairs broke my fall. I'm okay, I said, bouncing back to my feet before Mom could start checking me for wounds. Sarah raced past me and flung open the screen door. Mom raced toward me, holding the box. You almost forgot this. She thrust it at me. I could hear footsteps upstairs as Sarah ran toward the right side of the second floor. Don't worry, Grandma said, snatching the box from Mom. I'll take good care of everything and everyone. I used to have really bad allergies. That's why Mom had brought the box. It was full of stuff to treat sneezes, wheezes, coughs, itches, twitches, and pretty much anything else that didn't need stitches. She was terrified that I'd get sick. And the fact that she's a doctor doesn't help. The fact that she's an allergy doctor makes things a whole lot worse. I can't even scratch a tiny itch on my arm around her without getting covered with creams, ointments, and lotions. If she hears me cough or sneeze, I'm totally doomed to spend the rest of the day in bed, even if I feel fine. Grandma told Mom not to worry in 7 or 8 more ways and finally got her heading back to the car. I heard Sarah run to the other end of the hall. Then the steps stopped. I guess she had plenty of time to look at each room and choose the best one for herself. Oh well. It's not like the rooms would be all that different. Mom reached the car. Take care of yourself, she called. Bye. I gave my folks a last wave as they got into the car. Last wave? Yikes. That thought made my throat close up a little bit. As excited as I was to spend time with Grandma and Gramps, I had to admit I'd miss Mom and Dad a tiny bit. Grandma held the screen door open. Alex, she called as I lugged my bag up the stairs. About the rooms. What? I asked. I remember how she said one was a teeny tiny bit nicer. With Grandma, that could mean anything. Never mind, she said. When I reached the top of the stairs, I walked over to the room on the left and looked inside. Wow, I said. The room Sarah had snagged was enormous, with a thick rug on the floor, giant windows in 2 of the walls, and a huge TV opposite the bed. She was standing by a wooden dresser, unzipping her bag. She flashed me a grin of triumph. I knew that grin. I had the same one, except I rarely got to use it when Sarah was around. We looked so much alike, people think that we're twins. But I keep my hair really short, and I never wear jeans. Sarah wears them all the time. I went to the other end of the hall and pushed the door open. If Sarah's room was a castle, mine was a dungeon. It was dark, small, and filled with boxes. Grandma and Gramps liked to buy weird stuff at auctions and flea markets. I made my way across the room to where a narrow bed was crammed against one wall. A teeny tiny bit nicer, I muttered, remembering Grandma's words about Sarah's room. But I didn't plan to spend much time upstairs. I was here to hike in the woods and go fishing and hang out with my grandparents. I wanted to explore Thistle's Falls. I heard there was an awesome ice cream place in town. I dropped my duffel bag next to the bed. That's when I felt the itch. It started as a tickle, like one ant had crawled up my wrist to the middle of my forearm, but it swelled from ant to spider to tarantula and then to rat or maybe even a wolverine. I looked at my arm. What I saw was so horrible, I let out a shout. And that is on to chapter 2. So I will stop there for today. Again, if you are interested in this book, it is called Monster Itch Ghost Attack. It will be available at the Virtual Book Fair. However, you can also check it out in my library if you are interested. This is a library copy, so I do have some copies of this available for checkout as well if you would like to purchase it. Go to the book fair. If you'd like to check it out from the library, come see me. Join us again tomorrow night for another wonderful book. Don't forget about the Virtual Book Fair on October 26th. Take care.